to Jake Jackets. Gear up to fire the cannon and hit the ice with your host, Jay Ashdown and Jake Gehringer.
So a tweet from, I don't know how long ago this was. It was Chance the Rapper, and he said, "I wish cars could talk." And Tyler, the creator, responded, "Man, do I got a movie for you."
I think I remember that. I remember that. I think this is going to be the easiest Kepi Keeper segment we've had in a while. And I think we have no other choice but to agree like we did last week, last episode.
No, I disagree with you.
Oh, man. It is Cole Sillinger.
So that's your pick for Kepi. I'm not picking him.
Are you not really?
Yeah, you're going to find this hilarious.
Oh, no.
So you're picking Cole Sillinger. Totally understandable.
First career hat trick. The dude is the youngest player in the league. Did you know that?
Yes. Youngest player in the league, got a hattie. Pretty sick. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he, in his Kepi speech, he thanked Max and Borky for the setups, but
oh my God, the first one was unbelievable. I mean, the puck goes behind the net and Bjorkstrand just throws it right out in front, and he just perfectly places it past Thompson. And then the second one was Bjork just kind of threw it on net, and he just got a little bit of a deflection, and it just perfectly. And then the third, oh my, what a pass by Max! That was an unbelievable pass.
It was funny because I sent you a thing that, it says hat tricks before age 19, right? And I was like, look at his company. And you were like, oh my God, it's all Patrick Laine.
It's literally, the line is on there 3 times. There's, I said, Cole Sillinger, Nikita Filatov. Who's the other ones? Jordan Staal was on there.
Jordan Staal and Nuge.
Oh yeah, Nuge, that's right.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And then the last thing I just want to say on Cole is I texted you Dom Lucian's player card for him. And he's looking great. I don't know, but he looks great in terms of his numbers and everything. But my favorite part is obviously the picture with the mouth guard scream.
Yeah. That's a great picture.
His friggin' his sellies are always just him screaming like a banshee with the mouth guard hanging out. That blue mouth guard, dude. It's fun.
Wow. No, he looks great. But I'm not gonna go with him.
You're not going with Silly, huh?
You want to know why?
Why no Silly?
Because even though he got his first NHL hat trick, it is time for another first.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to give my Kepi to Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Hey! He finally gets one from Jay.
a goal and 3 assists. He had 4 points. He had 4 points. He was unbelievable. And
my
Cole
dude
was
rocking it.
But I mean, Bjorkstrand had 2 primary assists on 2 of those goals.
Right. And they were perfect passes.
Mm-hmm. Now, the second one was more of just a shot that he deflected, but the first one, good Lord, was an unbelievable pass. And then he also scored a goal too.
Right.
So he was unbelievable. So he deserves it from me.
4-point game from the Maestro and the first Kepi form from Jay Ashdown.
Yeah, you usually steal it from me. So this time I was like, what? I'm just going to take it while I have a chance.
You're going to do it. Well, I thought you were going to do it when we had Mike on. And then.
No, Max deserved it that game.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. He could have deserved it for this game.
Yeah, because even though he didn't have 4 points like Bjorkstrand did, he was all over the place again.
Max being Max. Just he's got his conflicted. Yeah. Seriously.
I'm so conflicted because I know that we could get a lot for him.
Mm-hmm.
but I badly want him to stay.
Well, yeah, because he's fit right on in, especially under Brad's system.
Yeah.
So there really isn't that much about the game to recap because, I mean, the big story was Cole's hat trick.
Yeah.
Patty starting it off because friggin' Patty, of course he had to start it off. Well, okay. So we got updates that Patty was playing. So he's fine.
Yeah.
And then Marchessault ties it up. Carrier makes it 2-1. Cole's first, ties it back. Bjorkstrand takes the lead. Cole enforces the lead with two more in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dadonov and Old Flame Jack Eichel make it a little bit closer. And then Robbie with the empty netter, and that's it, really.
Yep. Yeah, it was an interesting game. It was hilarious because we went up 1-0, and then Vegas scored 2 quick goals to take the lead. And their Twitter account tweeted that the Blue Jackets lead lasted as long as Tom Brady's retirement.
I remember that.
Only to lose. Which is something that they've done frequently in the last couple of weeks.
Their whole social media team's taken a lot of L's recently. We talked about that with the whole Eichel return to Buffalo.
Here's the thing, man.
No, I don't listen. I mean, well, Chicago doesn't have a PR person anymore. So I guess someone's got to take the mantle, and Vegas, okay?
And you can't pay me enough money to take that job.
Not me neither.
Here's the thing that we talked about with Vegas, because I'm sure their struggles was probably going to be a topic because it's been significant.
This is their first year that they've ever really felt any adversity.
Yeah, for real. If you look at the standings, you just see how tight it is and how rough of a spot they're in because
they're hanging by a thread.
So they're in the second wildcard spot. Okay, so they have 68 points in 61 games. So they're 4 points behind the Predators, but they've played 2 more games.
They're barely hanging in there.
And here's the thing: the first team out is the Dallas Stars, who are 1 point behind them.
Exactly.
4 games at hand.
Oh, okay. Whew.
So they're in a tough spot, man. Like they're not in a position where they can take one of the spots because let's see, because they're in the Pacific.
Yes.
So
they're in the weakest quote unquote division.
The easiest way for them to get into the playoffs is not by beating out Dallas, it's by beating out Edmonton.
Right.
The problem, though, is they're tied at points. They both have 68 points in a season. Edmonton's get 2 games at hand.
Right.
So they're in a tough spot, man. They might make the playoffs. It's important to note that they've got injuries. So, like, anybody who's, like, laughing, like, oh, you get Eichel, and then this start happening, he's a losing kind of guy. Like, I think it is a little unfair because they don't have Robin Leonard. And even
they don't have Mark Stone. They don't have Alec Martinez.
Patches has been out. There's some serious adversity that team is facing. So it's not Jack's fault.
Riley Smith is currently out.
Is this not exactly what we said when the Jack Eichel trade happened? That they are putting themselves in a difficult position for this season because they started off cold too because they had injuries.
Yeah. And
they made this trade, and our instant reaction was, well, you just got rid of 2 guys who could help you in the short term, which is Alex Tuch and Peyton Krebs. And sure, you're going to get your long-term asset, Jack Eichel, your number 1 center. But if you have injuries like you do, it's not guaranteed you're going to make the playoffs. And if you miss the playoffs this year, it's significant because that is 1 year of Jack Eichel you are missing out on with an opportunity to make a cup run. So it's a huge gamble on their end. And what happened? Everybody just naturally assumed, well, these players are going to come back. They're going to be healthy. They're going to start winning. That's not always the case.
Right.
Players don't always come back as soon as you think they do. And just because they come back doesn't mean you're always going to just continue and go back to your winning ways. This is a team that's really, really struggling in a lot of different areas.
Mm-hmm.
And the one Jack Eichel isn't going to fix it all. So if you miss the playoffs, how do you even define if this trade was a success already? Because if your goal is to win the Stanley Cup, well, you can't do it if you miss the playoffs. And this is one of your best opportunities to win the Stanley Cup
Mm-hmm.
because you have the roster currently. After this season, when Eichel's contract kicks in and everything like that, and you got your free agents, you're going to have to start getting rid of some pieces.
Quick thing, can you turn your gain down just a little bit? You're peaking a lot.
Sure. Is that better?
Probably. I don't know if part of it's like your Wi-Fi and part of it is the bike itself. I don't know. But okay. So Vegas, ever since they came into this league, we know the pomp and circumstance with the Vegas Golden Knights just as a franchise in terms of branding and the way they spend their money, the way they went out, and the storylines behind this team. They won right away, went all the way to a Stanley Cup final. So they have probably some of the highest expectations of any expansion team ever, right? They turned expansion on its head, and then Seattle comes in and has a traditional experience.
Yes. They do.
Yeah.
They could have done better, but like, whatever. They're having the traditional experience, as you mentioned.
The way that Vegas specifically over the last few seasons has been since that initial finals run, it's Vegas. They have to get that one big piece. And they always think it's one big piece that's going to put them over that hump.
And it was even prevalent in the first season that they ever went out, because they went out. They made the big trade. They got Tomas Tatar, and it backfired. And then their next piece was, oh, well, we're going to take Tatar, and we're going to couple him with Suzuki, and I think picks were part of that too, or Max Pacioretty. And well, then after that, we're going to go out and we're going to trade.
We're going to get Petro.
Well, they signed Petro, but the trade that they made was getting Marc Staal.
Right.
So like it's big splash after big splash after big splash after big splash. And, they didn't deal a lot, but they went out, they got Robin Leonard from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And, the big thing they wanted to do was they wanted a number one center. So they got rid of Marc-Andre Fleury for nothing. And they did it solely so they had the cap room to get Jack Eichel.
I don't know what this team does, man. Because, did you hear Stevenson's post-game comments? What is it with players being like, instead of saying like, we got to pull up by our bootstraps, they're like, we got to tug at our nuts. And
I love that.
That's the second time I've ever heard a player go, we got to tug at our nuts, and make a balls reference.
Yeah. It's interesting, but it's hilarious. But all kidding and stuff aside, they're right. This is a team that hasn't faced a ton of adversity, like you mentioned. They've usually been pretty healthy outside of the first year. The first year that they were together, they faced a lot of adversity. First thing that they came in and had to deal with was the Vegas shooting, and then they had a bunch of injuries. Fleury was out for a little bit. They had to rely on Malcolm Subban at times, but they also Oscar Dansk. You remember him?
Oh yeah,
he made some starts for them too.
Oscar had what, like an 838.
And there were some rough numbers from the goaltenders, but they just had to hold down the fort until they got healthy again. But they had a lot of success. They played pretty well. Mm-hmm. And all these guys were given new opportunities, like Riley Smith was given a fresh start, Jonathan Marchessault a fresh start. We found out that they're great players. William Karlsson.
That whole Misfits line is still like a staple for that team. And now that Smith is out, that's a huge blow to their offense.
It is. And he's the guy who's a UFA. They're not going to be able to keep him. Man, unless, of course, they trade to Donoff. But why'd they even get to Donoff?
Right. That was another one of those big acquisitions, wasn't it? That was like, we're going to get this name that should help us. And he really kind of has.
But he's a middle six forward who makes a lot of money. I didn't get it. Like, sure, in terms of value, you look at giving up Nick Holden and Evgeny Dadonov. Well, Dadonov's a more valuable player, but he's so much more expensive.
Matthias Janmark did more for that team than Evgeny Dadonov did last year.
Yeah, Matthias Janmark's a good player.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, the big splash thing, I get that it's Vegas. I get that that's the way, like, do you really want to run your hockey team the way your city's perception is?
I don't think so. I think there is a time and a place where you have to be aggressive. You have to make moves to make your roster better. But being aggressive every offseason and making wholesale changes every year, there is no continuity at all. How do you form a team that way? Like, I always think of it like kind of like baseball. You know how like people talk about, like, for example, like the Yankees in the 90s specifically, and how, yeah, there's always the perception that, oh, the Yankees have so much money they can go out and they can buy any player they want. But the reasons those teams in the 90s and the early 2000s for the Yankees were so successful is because they actually all came up together through the minor league systems.
Mm-hmm.
Those
They
are
had chemistry
players who
coming up. Yeah.
camaraderie, everything like that. When you develop a rapport, a bunch of relationships and stuff like that, you tend to be more successful as opposed to when you buy everything. And that's the one
Right.
disadvantage that they had, because they were able to assemble a roster that was successful from the get-go. They
Mm-hmm.
did a good job of it, and they continued to add and add and add. And the result you've seen are a collection of really good players. But that's kind of just what they are right now, is it not? They're just a collection of really
Yeah.
good players. They're not really much of a team.
The only thing that's been the most gelled is that initial line that stayed there. Everything else has been shuffled. It's been,
And they figured out, like, even like
to make it
the guys
Vegas,
that
it's
they
been
bought.
shuffled like a deck of cards, right? And it's just like, come on.
They also just like, and I said this earlier when they got Eichel, that this is the one thing that I didn't get about the trade was, I know everybody's perception is Chandler Stevenson's not a number one center. And the reason that that's the perception is because he's not a number one center.
Well, no.
But he can act as a number one center who doesn't make a ton of money because he played alongside Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone. And those two players are so excellent at both ends of the ice.
They can make him better.
They made him better. They increased his value to where he was passable as a number one center. And that line was dominant.
Yeah.
It was dominant. And now they're going to relegate him. So when all those players are healthy, sure, the Eichel's going to be even better than Stevenson, obviously. And that line's going to be great. But I feel like there's a better way to utilize it where you can keep that line together and maybe just bump Eichel down to the second line, play him with Smith and Marchessault. That line would be great together.
That line would be firepower. That would be like, wow.
But that's not the direction they want to go with.
No. They want to put all their biggest names on that top line, which names will get you somewhere, but I don't think it's to a cup.
Yeah, I agree. I think we, in about 5 years, are going to look back on the Vegas Golden Knights and our perception.
On their 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, I think our perception of the Vegas Golden Knights during their 10th year anniversaries, we're going to look back on them and think, wow, they are the San Jose Sharks. Very consistent, good team that always makes the playoffs, good collection of players, but they're not going to have a cup.
No chemistry and no.
I just don't think
no true chemistry. Yeah, it's more of a management thing, and like saying, hey, this is a franchise in Vegas. We're gonna do Vegas things and make noise that really doesn't mean anything.
There's nothing wrong with being patient.
Right.
Look at teams that are patient, man. Tampa was patient.
Florida's been patient. Carolina was really patient.
Think about it. Pittsburgh was incredibly patient.
Yes.
They had the number one pick in 2003, number two pick in 2004, number one pick in 2005, number two pick in 2006. 3 years after that, they won a Stanley Cup.
Right. Those early 2000s Penguins were like, obviously they had their own financial struggles,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
Mario had to save them again.
Mhm.
But
But
like,
they're patient.
yeah,
They fought their way through it. Look at them now. When was the last time they missed the playoffs? Do you know the answer to that question?
the last time they missed,
Yeah.
God, wasn't 08. Fuck. I want to say 06.
You are correct.
Wow.
2022. The last time they missed the Stanley Cup playoffs was 2006.
Oh my goodness. We
It's crazy.
what a model organization,
Yeah.
like we've said.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
It's an organization that breeds winning.
it's a really good
It
win.
follows players. Marc-Andre
Yeah.
Fleury left the organization when he got drafted by the Vegas Golden Knights.
Mhm.
Marc-Andre Fleury, in his entire career since he was drafted first overall, every year that he has played in the National Hockey League, has never missed the playoffs. If he doesn't get dealt at the deadline, this will be the first year.
Wow. Man. Where do you think he goes? Colorado? Because we know there's a trade we're going to talk about later where we think Sakic is making room for a big move.
It's interesting. Colorado could be a team that they, but I think Toronto needs to make.
Toronto needs a goalie. Yeah. Toronto needs
I would
one.
do it. I would do it if I was like if I'm Chicago, I would do it with Toronto.
Maybe.
Toronto's more desperate. They need it more badly than Colorado does.
It definitely depends on what Dubas really wants to do. But yeah, it was a really, really good win by Columbus. They play again tomorrow against Ottawa. You would hope you can win that, but again, Ottawa always brings a lot of fight.
Yeah. That's it. You know what, man? Ottawa's not great.
But they show up.
I think DJ Smith's a hell of a coach.
DJ's a fantastic head coach, and the players love him.
Yeah, the players seem to really. You know who? You know what category I put him in with is Granato in Buffalo, where it's like you look at the roster and you're like, there's not a lot of talent on this team, but God, are they a pain in the ass to play against?
Oh yeah,
they bring it every night, and they're young. Like I said, they're young. There's not a lot of talent on the roster, but they're never an easy out. And
right,
it's because of how they play. They respect the coach. They love the coach. They show up for the coach. They show up for each other. They're like, and those kind of coaches are bring the winning mentalities to team. That's why I think Buffalo's actually in pretty good hands right now. I think Ottawa's in pretty good hands.
I think we're in good hands with Larson. Like,
oh God, I think we're in great hands. I'm so incredibly happy that I was wrong about Brad Larson.
Mm-hmm.
Never been happier in my life to have been wrong about someone.
Right. Great win. Rough news out of that. First off, quick note: Jake is day to day, so Voracek is day to day still. We'll see if he's back tomorrow. If not, it's okay.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
No, he's putting up a great season. Obviously.
Oh yeah.
He's literally like the points production is like it's Oliver with 45 and then Boone with 44, which is the big hit right now. And then Patty's got 43. So it's like boom, boom, boom in terms of just general points.
Right.
Which is fun. But the big hit right now is Boone is week to week with a lower back injury. They were a little more specific with that.
I hope he's okay. I know it's going to take him some time to get back. But with here's the way that you got to view it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Every unfortunate situation like this brings up an opportunity.
Well, do we know like when that could have happened?
Not 100% sure, to be completely honest with you.
Like when he would have gone out?
Yeah, I haven't figured that out necessarily yet.
Me neither.
Don't know if that's been lingering. Because if it is, that's crazy because he has not looked like a guy who is not 100%. So
right. He's been looking just fine all year long. So
but yeah.
It's a huge blow to the depth, but like you said, just a second ago, it brings up opportunities, and Cole got it.
It's an opportunity to see where this team's at without their captain.
That
Because
too.
even though he won't be on the ice, he's still in the room. He's still going to be leading the charge. So I want to see who steps up, because this is a great opportunity for Cole. I think Cole's going to see an increase in his minutes. I honestly think that with Boone out, they're going to do everything they can to put him with Bjorkstrand a little bit more, especially after Vegas. We saw him play as well as he did.
Yeah, you sent me a J-Fresh thing that gave Cole a lot of praise, and specifically, Cole and Oliver together.
Yeah, they looked really, really good together. So I don't know how you manage the top line. They here's my simple solution for it, because it does two things. I would put Cole with Bjorkstrand and whoever else you want to put in that wing.
Probably
if
Patty.
Yeah. So if Jake is out tomorrow, the first line I think should be Line, Cole, and Bjorkstrand.
Yes.
If Jake is in the lineup tomorrow, I would rather see the first line. I'd like to see Cole with Bjorkstrand no matter what. But if Jake is back, I want Patty on one side, Jake on the other, and I want to see what Max Domi does in the middle of that.
Ooh, yes.
I think he's a good playmaker too, and I think he plays a pretty similar game to Boone. I don't think that's much of a drop off. He's a good passer.
Oh yeah, he's a great passer. He's fairly good. He's not as good defensively as Boone is, but he'll go and rough up anybody.
Exactly. I think they play very similar games. He's not as big, but I feel like he would fit in just in terms of what Boone did and the role that Boone played. Is that not exactly what Max Domi does?
I mean, it's what his dad did, so yes.
I think and here's the other thing, man. If the Blue Jackets' intentions are to trade this guy, you have like a week to give him first line minutes and try to raise his value even more.
Right.
Because he's been playing really well as of late. And here's the thing, man. Like, you and I are in the same spot. We're both in this spot of it's kind of win-win either way.
You can get something for him, or if you keep him, that's awesome because he's been a perfect piece.
Yeah. I get the feeling that they're probably going to move him. And the reason I say that is because they feel comfortable with Boone down the middle in the one slot. They feel comfortable with Cole in the 2 or 3 slot, and then next year you're going to be bringing in Kent Johnson. So I feel like it might be a more long-term move where they're saying Boone, with Kent Johnson coming here next year and Cole already established. Where the hell are we going to put Max?
Right. Where do you put Max?
Because you're not going to want to pay this guy, because he was making like 5.5 on his last contract.
5.3 on this one.
Oh, yes. Okay, so 5.3. I knew it was somewhere in that range. You're not going to want to pay him anywhere north of $4.5 million. You're not even going to want to pay him more than 3.5, really, if you're playing him in the bottom 6.
Right.
And unfortunately, bringing in Johnson more than likely, it relegates him to the bottom 6, either third line on the wing or fourth line at center.
Right. And I mean,
he's too good for that,
because you've already got Sean as your permanent third line center.
And Sean's been great.
Sean's been fantastic. Sean's been lights out in that role.
I mean, how comfortable do you feel next year going with Boone, Cole, KJ, and Sean as your centers?
I mean, again, swap Sean and KJ, and that sounds pretty good to me.
I feel like they wouldn't. I feel like they would just put Sean on the fourth line, because you want to make sure that you're
Fair
getting
enough.
KJ minutes to actually be able to produce.
Get him some minutes, yeah.
But either way, those are your 4 centers. I feel pretty uncomfortable with that. So
you say you're uncomfortable with that?
No, I feel pretty damn comfortable with it.
I was gonna say you kind of mumbled for a minute.
No, I feel incredibly comfortable with it.
No, that would be so much fun to watch.
Exactly.
Just as center depth goes, that would be just beautiful to watch.
You got two veteran guys who've been in the National Hockey League for a little bit of time. One who's had a pretty damn good season defensively for you in the bottom six,
Mhm.
and one who has, completely
Torn up college.
torn. You look at a guy who in Boone Jenner, and I sent this to you the other day. I think it was
Mhm.
yesterday. I
Mhm.
was looking at his, projected wins above replacement timeline throughout the course of his career. And he was so high his first 3 years in the National Hockey League.
Right.
And his numbers went down when Torts became the coach. And I think it's because his system, Torts put him in a role where he's more defensive minded. He's
Yes.
playing penalty kill. You're going to go out there and rough some guys up. And that's the kind of style hockey we play. There's nothing wrong with that. But I
No.
think he's more valuable in the way that he was used his first 3 years under Todd Richards, which is what Brad Larson's doing. Brad Larson, and this is where I give Brad Larson all the credit in the world, because what we said going into the season is we want to see players being utilized the way they need to be utilized.
Yes.
Sean Corrali, you're going to play in the bottom six, and we need you to be strong defensively and good at faceoffs. He's
Yep.
done exactly that.
Yep.
Patrick Laine, we're not going to make you a power forward. Go out
You
there.
are
And score
going
some
to
goals.
score. Yeah.
You're going to score. Oliver Bjorkstrand, you're going to do everything well like you always do.
Always do.
You know,
Jake,
Boone
you're
Jenner,
going to pass the puck.
You're going to pass the puck. But most importantly, he looked at Boone Jenner and he was like, no, this guy is way better at driving offense than people think. And he put him on the first line with Jake Voracek and Patrick Laine, and he's having an unbelievable season. It sucks that he's out because I wanted to see him finish this season and see where his totals ended up at, because I really feel like this guy could have been a 30-goal, 60-point kind of guy.
Oh, yeah. He's, we talk about that a lot when we reference him back in juniors in Oshawa. You watch his highlights from the Generals, and it's like mind-blowing just how much this guy can skate and score and do everything.
So let me just do some simple math here, okay? He has 23 goals in 59 games.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to average that out through an 82-game season, that's 32 goals. Okay,
it's
so
pretty damn solid to me.
21 assists in 59 games. If you were to average it out over 82, that's 29. Jake, what is 29 plus 32?
Oh my God, is that 60 what?
That would be Rick Nash's number. So yeah, he would have, if you played him through, if he played every game, if he just continued on the same pace that he's been doing, and I think 59 games is substantial enough, he would have been a 30-goal, 60-point player.
Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought who would have thought opening up offense would help?
For real. And if you look at his career, man, it would have been his career high in points was 2015. That was the last year of
Todd Richards.
He scored 30 goals. And he had a career, it was his career high. So career high 30 goals, career high 49 points. He would have shattered that. 32 goals, 61 points. That's a total renaissance for this guy. This dude, 44 points is where he's at right now. It's his second highest total in his career.
Oh my
and
goodness.
That's in 59 games.
Oh my goodness.
And this is not a guy who misses a lot of games either.
Well, no, and this is a huge injury then, because it's week to week. He's going to miss at least 2 weeks.
Yeah. So just like look over the course of his career, 72 games his first season in the league, 82 games in 2015, 82 games in 2016, 75 in 2017, 77 in 2018, and then the 2019 season he played in 70. But remember, that's the season that cut short.
That's the cut short. Yep.
So he played in every game, and then last season he played in 41 games
out of 56.
He doesn't miss much action.
No, he stays pretty healthy for a guy with his play style. He stays pretty healthy.
Absolutely. So, what? Just unbelievable job by Brad Larson, giving these guys roles, letting them just do what they do well.
Right.
And look what's happening. Patrick Laine is having a great season. Voracek's having a great season. Boone Jenner's having the best season of his career. Sean Corrali is fitting right in. That was a great signing by Yarmo.
Oliver's doing his thing.
Yeah, Oliver's doing his thing. Is typical. Zach Werenski's having his best season ever.
Yep. Boakfist looks fantastic.
Yeah, Boakfist. You know what? Sure, he's not always the best defensively, but we don't care. Do what you do best. Handle the
Right.
puck. Do things in transition. Score some goals, man.
Yeah.
He's just letting guys do what they do best. And the team, it's not lost on me, Jake. This team has defensive breakdowns. They're not great defensively. We knew they weren't going to be great defensively. Look at the players that they lost in the last 2 years. But it's the mentality of the players.
Right.
They're tied for first in the National Hockey League in comebacks.
Oh, that's right. Don't they have like 19 comebacks?
Yeah.
Oh my God. This team
This is
like
team.
we
they
call
go
this
down in the game and they don't care. They don't give a shit.
What did I say?
Battle. They just go on.
What did I say an episode or two ago? Resilient.
Resilience. That's what you want to see from these guys. Nothing gets them. They give up a goal, whatever. We're on to the next shift.
Right. It's like my bowling thing, right? Like
back.
it's my bowling thing. You know,
Yeah.
I have a bad throw. I have 3 seconds to get that out of my brain and on to the next one.
They've scored like 3 goals to tie it in the last minute of a game in like the last month.
Yeah.
Did it against the Wild. Jake Voracek did it against Boston.
I was gonna say they had what 2 games in like a week that were like that.
Had Patrick Laine had a goal with 6 seconds left to give the Jackets the win at Montreal.
Yep.
This team, they find ways.
And they don't give
I know
up
this team's
at
not
all.
going to make it to the playoffs, but they find ways to win games.
Right. Well, that's the thing too, is you look at this, excuse you.
Thank you.
You look at the standings and, you know, it's tough because now Boston and Washington are flipped in the wild card picture. And yet,
Yeah, because Boston's red hot.
yeah. And Washington is still kind of cold.
They're kind of cold, but they're hard to catch.
It's 11 points difference.
Yeah.
We're the closest team to making anything interesting, and it's an 11-point difference.
Yeah. Which sucks, but like at the same time, man, like I was talking with some people because like they talk about like happiness of NHL franchises and the fan bases.
Mm-hmm.
And the happiest teams are, the teams that are most successful. Obviously, no doubt about that.
Well, yeah.
But teams that are also happy are the ones that are super young. That are
And they
gonna
know
get
who they are.
draft picks. So, like, people talk about how miserable. The Blackhawks are like one of the most miserable fan bases. Totally understandable.
I mean, yeah.
That's for more reason than one.
Yeah.
But other teams that have reason to have hope. Sabres fans aren't as miserable as they used to. They're looking at this team like this team's kind of fun and like we're going to get another good pick and we're building something here.
Mm-hmm.
One of my buddies was like, Blue Jackets fans can't be that happy because they're not going to get a great pick and, they're really not anywhere close to the playoffs. I'm like, you couldn't have a further from the truth read on that because.
Well, I mean, we talked about this, with our own expectations for this year, right?
Yes. They have exploded past any of our expectations. They're building something. They're super young. They're fun as hell to watch. But most importantly, you talk about us not getting a great draft pick. We're not going to get a great draft pick, but we have Chicago's pick.
Right, exactly.
So that makes up for it anyway.
Yep.
The Blue Jackets themselves aren't going to go out and get a top 10 pick.
As long as, yeah, exactly. As long as Chicago keeps sucking and we are fine, like, we can have our cake and eat it too. It's like what happened, wasn't it? It was Ottawa and San Jose, right?
Yeah. I'm telling you, man. You look at the teams like Seattle, Arizona are worse than Chicago.
They're miserable. I feel bad for Kraken fans.
So 1, 2, 3.
I feel really bad for Kraken fans.
There are 7 teams right now with a worse record than Chicago. So if the season ends and it's just all chalk, you get the 8th overall pick.
I'm down
I'm
for
pretty
that.
damn happy with that.
Yeah. I'm down for that. But yeah, biggest thing is just get well soon, Boone. We miss you, and yeah.
Yeah. Get well soon, man. We miss you. We love you. You've been great for us this season. Just get back healthy and can't wait to kick ass with you next year too.
Get back out there. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Trade deadline stuff is actually happening now.
Yeah, some no like gigantic deals have happened.
Well, no,
but
because
a couple good ones.
we set like we talk about setting the market, right?
Yeah.
The market for this particular deadline is more, unless there's something like a Fleury or a Giroux trade that still can go down. I feel like this one is more depth oriented this year.
Yes. This is very much going to be a depth-oriented kind of deadline. I could see. I think Giroux is going to be traded. We're not 100% sure if there's going to be a trade for Fleury, because again, that's dependent on if he's willing to move, and that's because that's a lot on his family.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, other than that, there's going to be a lot of depth pieces moved.
Giordano and that kind of thing. Like there's a lot of names, but at the same time, it's really just going to be depth UFAs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the two trades that recently happened, the Ducks traded Josh Manson to Colorado.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the full package
Drew
was.
Hellison in the second.
Drew Hellison in the second is what they got. Okay. Which Hellison, just a few minutes before we started recording, signed his entry-level contract with the Ducks.
So that's good for them. He's a good prospect to have.
Mm-hmm. As far as Manson goes for the Avs, which is the big piece, right? This is the big part of the trade.
Yeah.
Isn't he more or less a third pairing guy at this rate in his career?
Yeah, I mean,
because you look at his numbers, I saw his JFresh card. It's like 18% WAR.
Yeah, so he was really good a couple of years ago.
Yes, he was fantastic.
Top line, one of the better second pairing defensemen in the league. His numbers have dropped, but it's hard sometimes with the analytics to analyze it as to why there's been such a significant drop off.
Mm-hmm.
It comes with the fact that his finishing percentage is not nearly as high as it used to be. His offense hasn't been great. His defense has fallen off a little bit, but he's still good enough in transition, and he's not a total liability.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ducks are not a great team. It makes me think that, going to a team like Colorado is going to help him.
Yeah,
and he can help them too. I think it's a good move for him.
Good third pairing guy with like
Nemeth, he'll be on the third pair.
Oh no, wait, Nemeth is in New York.
Yes,
isn't he? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So
because obviously they got McCarr, they got Gerard,
yep,
they got Taves, they got Johnson.
Poor Byram, man. I feel so bad for Bowen Byram.
And that's a good point, because he's a good prospect. Obviously, his 4th overall pick.
Yeah,
really talented. I think that there's a move to be made in the offseason for the Avs to help him move up. I think that they might highly consider moving Samuel Girard in the offseason
to get Byram minutes.
To get him more minutes, but also Girard has taken a steep drop this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's not been nearly as good as he was last year.
One other thing on the Ducks side of things, before we transition into the other trade, what do they do with Hampus? Because Hampus is a UFA. Hampus Lindholm has been pretty damn good for him for a lot of years, and this year. Like, he's been fine.
Again, this is a situation that depends on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I feel personally like there's a higher percentage chance that they keep him than trade him.
Yeah, I hope they keep him, because he's been just a staple for that team.
He's been a staple, been around for a long time, pretty talented guy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think is a guy that you're going to want to keep around to play with Jamie Drysdale too.
Yes, he can definitely anchor Drysdale a bit.
Mm-hmm. So, if I'm the Ducks GM, I would definitely consider just keeping him and extending him.
Yeah, Pat Verbeek has some work to do with that.
He does. But I like this deal for the Ducks, man. I mean, think about it. You're essentially getting 2 second-round picks.
Pretty
Helleson
much,
was
yeah.
a 47th overall pick in
Hmm.
2019. You're getting the second-round pick this year, so
Not bad.
no, not a bad return at all.
Not bad.
He's
And
playing
then
at Boston College,
mhm.
and he had a pretty decent season.
Yeah, how's he looking?
He had, he had 4 goals and 21 assists for 25 points in 32 games.
Oh, not bad at all.
So,
For defenseman, right?
yep.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Think about it. 6'3" defenseman who weighs 190 pounds, right-hand shot.
He's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, he's going to get bigger, going to get stronger. Put up 25 points in 32 games for
Yeah.
Boston College in the Big East.
Mm-hmm.
The Big East, Jesus Christ, Hockey East. Sorry, I got March Madness on my mind.
I know.
But no, I like it for them. I mean, that's another guy that you throw into the prospect pool for their defensive system.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy who can make an impact for them long term.
Yeah, for sure. And then Sakic pulled more magic, like again, just before we started recording this.
Yeah, I like this trade a lot.
It was 1-for-1, wasn't it? It was just Jost and Sturm.
Yep. So I think
Tyson,
as of right now, Nico Sturm's the better player.
Nico Sturm is definitely looks like the better player when you just consider the eye test.
Yes. I don't think that the difference is gigantic.
No.
But they're getting someone who I think is more playoff ready for their run. He's a guy that's going to play in the bottom 6, a big body, can really control the puck. He's got a long reach, very, very proficient defensively.
Played very well with guys like Bugstad.
Mm-hmm. He'll fill in the bottom 6 very well for Colorado and what they want to do.
Oh, yeah.
But for Minnesota, Tyson Jost is pretty good defensively. He's kind of stalled in his
because he's been, his development hasn't really, because he's been up and down in his ice time.
Yeah, it's hard to get ice time when you're behind guys like McKinnon and Kadri.
Yeah.
Hell, even JT Compher.
I was going to say JT took up a lot of Tyson's time. Yeah.
So it was a tough spot for him. And change the scenery, maybe some more ice time. Maybe this does good for him. It's very possible that he plays better in Minnesota and gets the development that he needs to become the player that they hope that he would become.
Could play with a kid like Boldy, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, for real. This guy, the hopes was that this guy was going to be a good two-way forward in the middle 6. He looked really, really good at UND.
Mm-hmm.
But
top 10 pick, right?
Yeah, he was 10th overall. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily just go away after a couple years.
Yeah, right.
It's just about how you develop him. And
the Avs just didn't really do that.
Minnesota's done a pretty good job of developing players. And the problem is there's a lot of organizations. I think Colorado does a good job of developing players, but it's hard to develop players when you're trying to win and you can't give time to young players.
Because you got to run the horses, right?
Exactly. So you think about it, like you think about a team like Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's not developing a lot of incredible superstar talented centers anymore, and it's because you kind of had these 2 guys named Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin,
and then you go out and you get a guy like Jeff Carter.
Yeah, so certain organizations that are really good aren't really developing the next wave of great players because they're busy.
They have them locked in, yes.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think about Washington too. Think about the fact that Washington, I mean, you got Nick Backstrom and Evgeny Kuznetsov down the middle and Lars Eller. So they traded a guy like Chandler Stevenson to the Vegas Golden Knights for a 5th-round pick, and suddenly he's a really good player.
Washington is going to start having a bit of issues with that because Kuzi is just about to turn 30. So then all 4 of the centers are going to be 30 plus.
Yeah. And they're going to have to figure out a situation because I think, is either a free agent this year. Lars Eller, I think, is a free agent next year.
Yeah, they got one more year.
They're going to have to consider just letting him go because you're going to want to get more time for guys like Alexei Protas and Connor McMichael.
Yes.
So, but I think that's just a perfect example of like Chandler Stevenson was a 3rd-round pick. He was a guy that they liked. They developed him through the minors, but they didn't have any space for him, and then he goes to Vegas.
Yeah, he was just expendable, and
look what's happened. Sure, he's getting a lot of help playing from guys like Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone, but he's a good player too.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of the situation they're in, and who knows? Maybe this is the situation. Maybe this is a Chandler Stevenson situation for Tyson Jost.
Maybe, could be, maybe, yeah, because we know Nas can play both 2nd and 3rd line, right? So if Nas doesn't mind getting bumped down the line to give, or no, wait, I'm thinking the other way. Like that's. But you get what I'm trying to say, though. Like if Nas could,
like, you're gonna want to get more time. Like if I'm Minnesota right now, now that I got this kid, I want to give him more minutes than Victor Rask.
Right.
So, I would play him on the 3rd line. Maybe try and see how he looks with Ryan Hartman.
Maybe, yeah.
That might not be the worst look.
No, especially with the way Hartsy's playing this year. Like, yeah.
Oh, exactly, yeah. Because you don't want to mess up the top 2 lines, especially with how well, Joel Eriksson Ek plays, and obviously you got a guy like Kirill Kaprizov. They've got some good plays. It'd be interesting to put a line together of Tyson Jost with Jordan Greenway and Ryan Hartman.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Because Greenway is a good passer. Hartman is obviously finishing really well this year. He's been a sniper for them.
Yep.
And then I think you get the 2-way game of Tyson Jost.
Yeah, I think a change of scenery could do a lot of good for both of these guys. I mean, we know Nico has been fine in Minnesota.
Yeah, Nico's been fine. He doesn't necessarily need a change of scenery. He's just going to a situation where he's going to be more valued in what he does for a team that's trying to win the cup. But I think this is a good change of scenery deal for Tyson Jost.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of changes of scenery and trades, the top trade target is out for a while. Jakob Chychrun's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks with a lower body injury.
That's really unfortunate. But the one thing I'll say about that is the good thing for the Coyotes is they don't need to trade him. He's under contract for another 3 years.
Right.
They really don't need to trade him. They could do it in the offseason if they wanted to. His value is always going to be high.
Yeah, he's Jakob Chychrun. Of course he is.
It's unfortunate, but like, hell, you might get to a point where you just want to keep him. That's the beauty of him and his contract is you got options. This isn't a situation where you're not going to get a super gigantic haul because teams know you have to trade him. No,
well, it's funny because they're asking for the biggest haul in the world.
Yes, they're asking for. That's what it is. They're asking for a comical amount for this guy because all it takes is just one GM doing it.
Yeah, all it takes is one Chuck Fletcher.
Nah, Chuck Fletcher is going to go out and get Tyler Myers.
I forgot he's got rumors swirling. Myers.
I need to see Rest the Line and Tyler Myers.
Oh God! Just imagine.
I don't think did they ever play together in Buffalo?
I don't know.
Or did they just miss each other?
I
feel like they may have played together one season in 2014.
Maybe. I don't know.
Someone do it. Chuck Fletcher, do it, man.
we got to make time to dig at Chuck, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if he was a better GM, we wouldn't do it.
Yeah, right.
You notice how we don't make fun of good GMs?
Huh? Yeah.
Like, would you ever spend time here laughing at Joe Sakic?
Would you ever spend time laughing at Julian Breezeball?
Look at this dude. Cap circumvention. Like, no, like
Cap circumvention. I mean, we can laugh at Kelly McCrimmon.
Yeah. Absolutely. But like, there's so many good GM. Like, think about all the good laughs we've had in here talking about Steve Yzerman.
Oh yeah, all the guffaws over Stevie Y.
Look at this dude making another genius draft pick. Like, no, we only make fun of dumbasses.
This is why our show is all about Jim Benning and Chuck Fletcher.
Literally, Jim Benning doesn't even have a fucking job. And we're still just like Jim Benning.
We're still, yeah.
Fucking Garth Snow and Peter Chiarelli.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Anyway, okay. I want to give a big congrats to Marc Staal because now all three Staal brothers have played in over 1,000 games.
Here's the thing. And this is where I'm an asshole, okay? Because these three brothers have had unbelievable careers.
This is where you're an asshole.
And let me explain why I'm an asshole. Because they've all played over 1,000 games,
which is huge.
They've all played in at least one Stanley Cup final. Mark played in one in 2014. You know, Jordan won one in 2009.
Right.
Eric won one in 2006. Unbelievable accomplishments. And the only thing that my first thought about that when I saw on Twitter that they all reached 1,000 games, my first thought that came into my mind was, God, imagine being fucking Jared Staal.
Oh yeah, poor Jared.
That was the only thing that I like. It wasn't about their accomplishments and how incredible their careers were or anything like that. My first thought would be like, man, it would suck to be that guy.
It'd be suck to be the forgotten brother, right?
What a piece of shit you must be like. Well, I'm not trying to say anything mean about the guy because he is so much better than hockey than either of us would ever imagine or dream of being.
Right.
But it's just, it's. But they asked the question of like which pair of brothers could be the next to do this, and I'm like, that's the easiest question in the world. The Hughes brothers are going to do that.
Oh yeah. Well, because it's a trio, right? Like,
yeah. Like the Hughes brothers will absolutely do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've all had unbelievable careers, and it's especially a crazy journey for Mark because I think back to like all of these guys, like, Jordan and Eric were great. They're great playmakers, but they're big guys. They're power forwards.
Right.
That's how they play. They've had unbelievable careers. But
Mark
I think
being the only defenseman out of the three.
Well, not just being the defenseman, but being a physical defenseman, it takes an even larger toll on your body. And then I think back to how much time he missed with the eye injury.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
So for him, after all of that, to get to 1,000 games, I think that's incredibly impressive.
Yeah. I will say
1,000 games might be the most impressive to get to of the three.
Probably because, we know Eric and Jordan's reputations, right? They're winners. They're big power forwards. They're, they played together which that was my other thing was it's shocking to me that Mark never played with.
Yeah, because he was always under contract, so it was never like a situation. Well, no, he played with Eric.
But what I'm saying is I wanted to see all three of them at once. Yes. Yeah.
So that would have required the Hurricanes to have traded him to, or the Rangers to trade Mark to the Hurricanes.
Which
when those two were together. But yeah, still regardless, that would have been cool as hell. But
that would have been amazing, wouldn't it? Imagine like a goal. Okay, so imagine like a stat line of like Eric scores from Jordan and Mark.
And that'd be crazy. that would have been like if there was like a third Sedin twin on the Canucks.
Exactly, right? But yeah, huge ups to Mark. 1,000 games, for anybody is a giant accomplishment. But to be part of a trio of brothers to do that, I mean, we get the Sedins did it as twins, but like they're just they're the Sedins. They're unbelievable. We kind of expected that.
Absolutely. And then you look at the greatest, brother duo in NHL history, Wayne and Brent. They've combined for the most points.
Yeah, they have. Danbury Trashers legend, Brent Gretzky.
I forgot that he's on the Trashers.
Dude, I need to watch that doc again. I haven't in a while.
That shit was wild, man.
It was I'm so glad we got to do a review of it, and I finally got you to watch it when you did.
Yeah. It only took me like 9 weeks to watch it.
All right. A huge downturn, and then we can probably try to end on something fun if you just have a random thing you want to end on. Heritage Classic. Auston Matthews gets his first career suspension.
I thought it was here, dude. I'm just so scarred when you're like, oh, a little bit of a downturn here. I'm like, what do the Blackhawks do?
What did the Blackhawks do now?
Every fucking time, man. It's just a suspension. It's not that bad.
But
compared
it's still,
to other things that we talk on here, suspension is just status quo at this point.
But still, it's like, okay, think about it. It's the Heritage Classic. It's Auston Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
He gets suspended 2 games, so he's not playing tonight in Dallas, and then he doesn't play their next game, which 2 games, it's a cross-check to Dahlin's neck, which if you watch the play, there's a whole thing. There's a whole scrum going on between the 2 of them. Like, they're just jarring at each other the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, Dahlin did kind of start it, but at the same time, there's an argument for Matthews going red eye, going like full bull mode. And then there's an argument where he goes in and he's like, okay, I've had enough of this. He gives him the cross check and he says that it was to his shoulder and it just rode up into Rasmus's neck.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's how I analyze it. 2 guys are battling.
Mm-hmm.
One is extremely frustrated.
Yep.
He gets shoved by Dahlin. He gets back up. He's trying to defend himself. And they go back and forth a little bit. He gives him a cross check. And it hits him in the neck. Was he aiming for his neck? I don't know.
No.
I'm going to guess with probably not.
Right. He said no.
He said no. I'm going to believe him. Regardless, the result of what he did was he cross-checked him in the neck, whether if it was intentional or not.
Right.
So he got 2 games.
And 2 games is the precedent for.
It's the precedent. I don't know what people are bitching about. It's 2 games. Come on.
This is one thing that I think. It's because it's Toronto and it's Auston Matthews. That's really what it is. That's
what it is, yeah. But like, I'm sorry, like you can't get preferential treatment just because you're in a heart race.
Just because you're in another Richard race.
Sorry, that's what it is. That's how this goes.
Well, there were a lot of fans calling for way more, as well.
Yeah, because it's a tough spot because I'm like I said, man, I say this all the time. 2 things can be true at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Auston Matthews deserved to be suspended.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
There should be something to be said about the fact that he needs to always fucking defend himself.
That too.
These stars need to be protected more.
Yeah.
You freak out about things that Sidney Crosby does, things that Alex Ovechkin does. A lot of people freak out about these things.
A lot of people freak out about Connor's elbows.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh my God, look, Connor McDavid's doing this stuff now. It's like, yeah, maybe if you fucking protected your stars, this wouldn't be a fucking issue.
Yeah.
Maybe if you just would have called Dahlin to begin with.
Which, I mean, Dahlin
just do something. Just protect your players. It's not that hard.
Dahlin in his own right is kind of a star. This is like,
he's
not
Auston Matthews.
No, he's not an Auston Matthews. Absolutely not. But
we're talking about your top of the end kind of guys. He's nowhere near that.
No.
We're talking about specifically your Kucherovs, your Matthews, your McDavids, or
Your Sids, your Ovies.
Your Sids, your Ovies. We're talking about those guys. Yeah, that's just. I get it. I understand that there's frustration with Leafs fans. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand on a very surface level the frustration.
First career suspension.
But it doesn't mean that he didn't deserve to get suspended. He deserved to get suspended.
Right. And it's, it's 2 games. We know what JT can do on the top line.
Here's the thing, man. I understand people, like they're concerned, like, oh my God, people are freaking out like about him missing 2 games. Let me just remind you, Leafs fans, scoring is not your problem right now.
No, exactly.
You can try and outscore your problems as much as possible. That doesn't work in the postseason. Clearly, you've seen it the last several years.
Clearly.
You got bigger issues to deal with than Auston Matthews being out for 2 games.
Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, that's the biggest thing is, sure, losing your 45 goal scorer and Hart candidate is tough. It sounds like, just me saying that is like, ouch. Like, it hurts me. Right? And I'm a Columbus fan.
Right.
I've got a soft spot for Toronto because of, who my friends are, but still.
Yeah. It's just yeah. No, I get it. Like, I understand the frustration, man, but at the same time, it's frustrating for me to watch it. To be like, man, I want these players to get protected more, but at the same time, like, I don't understand how you can try and defend him and say that's not a suspension. You cross-check the guy in the neck.
Yeah, no.
Now, maybe long-term it works out for him because less players are going to try and screw around with him.
Well, because I also didn't see people saying that shouldn't have been a suspension. Just to bring what you said to light. I didn't see people saying this shouldn't be a suspension. I saw people.
I've seen a lot of Leafs fans on Twitter saying that.
Well, that's Leafs Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But there are a lot of people saying that it should have been more than 2 games, and
no, it shouldn't have been more than 2 games. No doubt about it. The precedent's 2, go with 2. That's it. In the discussion, I don't think it's that difficult. You and I are on the same spot on it.
Yeah. So they'll be okay. I mean, like, think about it. Like, sure, it sucks not having Auston Matthews, but you have John Tavares.
Yeah.
You're gonna be fine. Put Mitch and JT together like you used to.
Yeah.
And then, Buns can play with him. Kerf could play with him. It doesn't matter. Well, you're probably going to need Kerf down on 2C anyway. So Tavares, Kerfoot, Kampf are your top 3. That's honestly, still pretty damn good.
I would leave Camp on the 4th line and put Kerfoot on the 3rd line. I want to see what Nick Robertson can do on the 2nd line.
Oh, yeah. So what do you think,
man?
So you think
it's not like you're in the midst of like an intense playoff race. Like, you're already in.
You're locked in. Yeah. So what do you think then? Like, I'm trying to picture the 2nd line.
Put first line JT with Bunting and
Mitch.
And then put Nick with Willie
and Kasha.
Yeah, I like that.
Willie and Kasha.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds pretty good to me. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be the best thing for them.
Yeah, they'll survive.
Maybe even put Mikheyev there.
Maybe Mikheyev add some speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, double your speed, triple your speed, because Nick is hilariously fast.
Yeah, make it a fast and skilled line. Because I wouldn't mind seeing Kasha with Kerfoot.
They play Dallas tonight, and then I think they have an off day, and then they play another game. There's
another reason. Put Nick Robertson on the 2nd line as he plays his brother.
Yes, we can end on that. Perfect ending. This is the first time these guys have played together at the NHL level. which is
Look at me. I'm a
hilarious
genius.
and cool. Yeah, look at you ending shows. Their mom's going to be in attendance, and here's a fun thing I read. So
Yeah.
she always, doesn't matter, like whenever they play against each other, because they've always played against each other for whatever reason,
Yeah.
she wears the jersey of the home player and the hat of the away player.
Fair enough.
So basically, what does that
She's gonna wear a
do?
Dallas hat and a Nick Robertson jersey.
Yeah, Dallas hat and a Nick
You
jersey.
know what she should do to
What?
make it match? She needs to wear the green Pats jerseys.
Green Pats jerseys and a Dallas hat. I love it.
Yeah, just go all green.
That would be kind of fun. If she
Be
has
funny to do it.
if she has a Pats jersey, I don't know what she's got.
I
Obviously.
mean, God, I mean,
No,
it's
with-
Nick Robertson's mom. I can imagine that. He could just call up Kyle, and Kyle will just get a
You
jersey.
could just get one made for you.
because he's just the nicest guy on the planet.
I mean, you would know.
Yes, me and him are we're like bros, man.
I forgot to mention on a recent show, it was like it's been over 5 years now since I met Oliver.
Jeez,
Like, wow.
it's been over 2 years since I met Kyle Dubas. When I met Kyle Dubas, it was during Canisius was playing the United States development team, and they had some
Right.
interesting players on that team. Most interesting would be Jake Sanderson. He went in the top 5 to the Ottawa Senators.
Mhm.
He's a really good defenseman. They also had Luke Tuck on that team. God, I gotta look back on that roster and just see what other interesting. There's a lot of guys I was interested in.
But yeah, the Robertsons clash tonight, and that's going to be fun. As for Columbus, they play a back-to-back starting tomorrow. They're in Ottawa, and then they come home to play Washington, and then we'll have a game on show day Saturday. It's hosting St. Louis at 5.
So he says that's on Saturday.
Yes.
Hmm.
5 o'clock start.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd love to watch that game. I'm absolutely gonna watch March Madness.
It's weird though. I don't know if that's a March Madness thing or just a general rescheduling
there's
thing.
no games in Columbus, so that doesn't have an impact on it.
Fair.
But unless they're just doing it for scheduling purposes, for like just
Maybe that was one of the,
because there's a lot of interesting times. So Devils play the Oilers at 3.
oh,
Stars play the Islanders at 2. Blackhawks at Wild at 2. Kings at Golden Knights at 4, which is essentially 1 o'clock their time.
mhm.
Penguins at Coyotes at 5. Yeah, no, there's a lot of weird times that day.
Yeah. I wonder. I don't know if the hockey guy's gonna have a hard time with that, but he never really does.
Right. No, this is a good show. I like this.
Yeah, it was a good one, and we'll have 2 recaps for Saturday.
Yeah, we'll talk to you on Saturday, and it'll be a great time.
Hoping for some
I'll be
big
cool.
trades by then. And hey, we got another guest in the works. So
We do.
We do. So
Interesting. Okay.
keep an eye out for that. And-
Alrighty, Jake.
Alrighty, Jake. Go Jackets. Let's go.
Jake Jackets, a podcast for fifth liners and all puckheads around. Follow the guys on Twitter at Snake Gehringer, GARRINGER, and at By J Ashdown. And subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen. March on.